In 1931, a Michigan housewife named Esther Perkins saved her family from ruin by reusing coffee grounds, not once, but 3 times, stretching a 10-cent purchase into a week's worth of caffeine. She wasn't cheating, she was practicing an art that the nation would soon forget. Welcome to the lost thrift wisdom of the Great Depression. Today we uncover 16 money-saving hacks so effective they were quietly abandoned. Not by law, but by the march of convenience and changing tastes. These weren't secrets in the sense of conspiracy. They were everyday habits that became obsolete, seen as low class or simply too much trouble. But for millions of Americans, they were the difference between getting by and going under. First on the list, turning old tires into shoe soles. When rubber was precious, families would slice up discarded inner tubes and nail them to the bottoms of worn-out shoes. It extended the life of footwear by months. But as cheap synthetic rubber became abundant after the war, the practice felt crude. No one wanted to walk around with a tire on their foot. So it vanished from American closets. Second, saving bacon grease. It wasn't just for cooking. Families used it to season cast iron, make soap, and even as a leather conditioner. Every drop was prized. Then came margarine and vegetable shortening, cheaper and more convenient. Bacon fat became a messy relic, associated with poverty. Today it's making a comeback, but back then it was a quiet essential. Third, making egg substitute from flaxseed. Fresh eggs were a luxury. Resourceful cooks discovered that boiling flax seeds produced a gelatinous liquid that could stand in for eggs in baking. It worked, but it required planning. When powdered eggs became available, and later refrigerated eggs year-round, the flaxseed trick was forgotten. It now lives only in vegan cookbooks. Fourth, using vinegar as everything, from cleaner to deodorant to medicine. A single bottle replaced a dozen modern products. But after World War II, chemical companies marketed specialized cleaners as more effective. Vinegar was demoted to salad dressing. Its versatility became a homely secret. Fifth, darning socks and mending clothes until they were more patched than original. It was a painstaking skill taught to every child. As fast fashion emerged, throwing away a torn shirt became easier than fixing it. The art of invisible mending all but died. But during the Depression, a single shirt might last a decade. Sixth, bartering instead of buying cash, trading eggs for milk, carpentry for flour. It skirts the tax system, so it's not illegal, but governments frown on it. When the economy recovered, cash became king, and barter was seen as backward. But in 1933, it kept whole neighborhoods fed. Seventh, making your own tooth powder from salt and baking soda. It was effective, cheap, and had no sweeteners. When toothpaste with fluoride and bright packaging arrived, it was marketed as modern and clean. The gritty homemade version became a sign of poverty, but it cleaned just as well. Eighth, using orange crates as furniture. They were free, sturdy, and stackable. A family could build a bookshelf, a nightstand, or even a table. When plywood and particle board became cheap, the orange crate was discarded as ugly. But it was a clever solution. Painter's note, just show the crates, no printed brand names. Ninth on the list, making soap from leftover fat and lye. Every family had a soap pot, but by the 1950s, factories could produce bar soap cheaper and with prettier scents. Homemade soap, with its grey colour and soft texture, came to be seen as old-fashioned. Most people simply forgot how. 10th, using flour sacks for clothing, towels and diapers. Mills printed patterns on their sacks so the cloth could be reused. But as textiles became cheaper, store-bought clothes were more convenient and didn't carry a brand logo. The practice faded quietly. 11th, using kerosene lamps at night instead of electric lights. The switch was never banned, but as rural electrification spread, electric light became the standard. Kerosene remained a backup. For many, a reminder of leaner times they preferred to forget. 12th, making your own ink from elderberries and vinegar for schoolwork. Colored ink was a luxury. Homemade ink was free. But ballpoint pens and cheap mass-produced ink made the recipe a curiosity. Today, it's a craft project, not a necessity. 13th, using oiled paper instead of wax paper or plastic wrap. Newspapers and brown paper were soaked in linseed oil, dried, and used to wrap lunches and leftovers. It worked well enough, but its greasy feel and strong smell made it unpopular. Plastic wrap took over completely. 14th, mending cracked pots with a paste of flour and salt. This emergency patch could seal a leak until a new pot was afforded. But as cheap metal and enamelware became common, few bothered. The recipe now lives only in folk memory. 15th, using carpet remnants or burlap to make winter coats. Outerwear was sewn from whatever could be salvaged. But with mass-produced garments becoming affordable, patchwork coats lost their appeal. They were heavy, stiff, and often damp. Still, they kept many a child warm through December. And the final may be most surprising: using a potato to power a simple radio. During the Depression, some resourceful tinkerers found that a potato, with zinc and copper electrodes, could create a weak galvanic cell. It powered a crystal radio set for news and music. It was never practical for long. The potato dried out quickly. But it symbolizes the ingenuity of an era when nothing was wasted. These were not banned secrets. They were simply edged out by progress. Yet in their time, they kept families going. And maybe they still have something to teach us.